A potential meeting between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin has been shelved, leaving Trump feeling it would have been a wasted meeting. The U.S. president cited Moscow's refusal to halt fighting along the current front line as a key sticking point. This development comes after Trump's announcement of a potential summit with Putin in Budapest within 2 weeks, which has now been put on hold. The differences between U.S. and Russian peace proposals have become increasingly apparent, with a senior European diplomat suggesting that Russia's demands were too high, leaving little room for a deal. The diplomat's comment hints at a potential breakdown in negotiations. Trump and Putin's last meeting in Alaska yielded no concrete results, and the White House's decision to cancel a second meeting may be an attempt to avoid a similar outcome. But here's where it gets controversial. A preparatory meeting between U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov was initially planned, but the White House later stated that a call between the two was productive, and that a physical meeting was no longer necessary. This sudden change in plans raises questions about the true nature of the discussions and the potential outcomes. On Monday, Trump embraced a ceasefire proposal backed by Kyiv and European leaders, suggesting a freeze on the current front line. However, Russia has consistently pushed back against this idea, with Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov stating that Moscow's position remains unchanged, demanding a complete withdrawal of Ukrainian troops from the eastern regions. Sergei Lavrov, the Russian foreign minister, emphasized that Moscow is interested in long-term peace, implying that a freeze on the front line would only be a temporary solution. He further stated that the root causes of the conflict must be addressed, referring to Russia's maximalist demands, including the recognition of its sovereignty over the Donbass and the demilitarization of Ukraine. European leaders, alongside Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, released a statement earlier on Tuesday, accusing Russia of not being serious about peace, and emphasizing that any talks should start with freezing the current front line. Zelensky described discussions about the front line as the beginning of diplomacy, which Russia seems intent on avoiding. Zelensky added that the only topic that could make Moscow pay attention is the supply of long-range weapons to Ukraine. This statement hints at a potential leverage point in the negotiations, with Ukraine seeking to strengthen its position against Russia. The initial plan for a summit in Budapest was discussed over the phone between Trump and Putin, just a day before Trump's meeting with Zelensky at the White House. Some reports suggest that the talks between Trump and Zelensky were tense, with sources indicating that Trump pushed for Ukraine to give up large areas of territory in the eastern regions as part of a deal with Russia. However, Zelensky has consistently maintained that Ukraine cannot relinquish the parts of the Donbass it still holds, fearing that Russia could use the area for further attacks. Putin's call with Trump last Thursday was reportedly prompted by speculation that the U.S. was preparing to send long-range Tomahawk missiles to Kyiv, which could potentially strike deep into Russia. Zelensky believes that it was this issue that forced Russia to engage in discussions. Despite not securing any concrete outcomes from the White House, Zelensky described the talks about the missiles as a strong investment in diplomacy. This statement leaves room for interpretation and raises questions about the potential impact of these discussions on the ongoing conflict. So, what do you think? Is there a way to find common ground between the U.S., Russia, and Ukraine? Or are these differences too deep-rooted to be resolved through diplomacy? Let's discuss in the comments.